Do you use the same starting word every day when you play Wordle, or do you use a different one each day? Each approach has advantages and disadvantages. Is it better to start Wordle with the same beginning word or a different beginning word? The answer depends on your objective in playing the game. Let's see what I'm talking about. Is your objective to have fun and win in as few rounds as possible? Or is it to have fun and maybe exercise your brain a little bit at the same time? If you are mentally lazy, the way I am some mornings, you might use the same word every day. I have a good opening word, one that uses more of the common letters of the alphabet. Now, there's something to be said about this approach. You're giving yourself the very best chance to win in as few rounds as possible since you're using the more popular letters. What you are not doing with my brilliant approach is using too much brain power. You're not exercising your mind muscles as much as you might have. There is one other advantage, if you will, in using the same first word. I don't know if you'd exactly call it an advantage, but it's kind of a fun thing, in my opinion, anyway. If you play the same first word every day, in theory, at some point, if you play every day, you'll solve the puzzle in the first try. I think that would be kind of neat. Do you? If you agree, let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you think the opposite, we'd love to hear from you also. So, what are the arguments for using the same word? They go like this. Usually, you have picked an optimum word, so you're giving yourself a really good head start on the game if you're looking to win in as few rounds as possible. Okay, so that's number one and two. Also, you won't waste time debating with yourself about what word to start with today. I know some people who like to start with a different word every day, and then they have to keep track of which words they've already used, etc., etc. But not a big deal. Now, let's say you're the type who believes that variety is the spice of life. Let's talk about using a different starting word each day. Now, you may or may not have an optimal start when you use a different word each day, especially if you've chosen a word for the day that does not have optimal letters. You'll notice I said may or may not. Sometimes Lady Luck will smile on you. Georgiana White shared with us recently that on the day avert, AVERT was the solution, she had started with overt, OVERT. So she was able to solve it in two rounds. That probably didn't happen to too many other people that day. I know it didn't happen to me. So, what are the advantages of starting with a different word? By starting with a different word each day, you have to think differently each day and hence exercise your brain muscles a little bit because the odds of getting the same two or three letters in the first round are greatly diminished. This also forces you to think about a second and third choice because it's unlikely that you'll be using the same second or third word that often. It's not like when you use the same first word. So clearly, if you're hoping to get the most out of exercising your brain, a different first word every day will be your best bet. But let's be clear. This does not mean that you have to start with words that are obviously going to set you back behind the eight ball. So, for example, you can forget starting with words like Xerox, zebra, or quick. Those words are not apt to give you a good, strong start. Now, if you vary the starting words, especially if you use words that contain letters of the alphabet that are yet less frequently used, you're probably going to need an extra round or two to solve the daily Wordle, and occasionally you may even miss. But that is certainly not the end of the world, especially if your goal is just to have some fun and exercise the old noggin a little bit. Now, before I explain what a happy middle ground might be, if you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up and or subscribe. We produce new content 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are devoted to payment and accounts payable issues, and Saturdays are reserved for Wordle. The happy middle ground for this might be varying your starting words, but using some of the more popular ones. I'm going to share with you what they are. Crane, CRANE, stare, STARE, arise, ARISE, arose, AROSE, and adieu, ADIEU. Did I miss any? If so, let us know in the comments below. Now, of course, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can start with words like Xerox, zebra, or quick. But I'm guessing most of us don't want to challenge ourselves quite that much because, in effect, you're almost giving away one of the rounds. Let me ask you this. Which approach do you take? You can share what that is in the comments as well. I can share with you that most people who have a favorite starting word also sometimes have a favorite second word. We recently did a broadcast on that, which you can watch right now using a link that will appear momentarily on YouTube on your screen and is in the show notes below. As always, we appreciate your thumbs up, your subscribes, your shares, and your comments. Happy wordling.